What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Good show today. Super short. There's literally nothing going on in the news right now. It's the slow
We're having
weekend.
to make stuff up to talk about at this point.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're doing our Dynasty rookie draft recaps, along with the Ravens and 49ers recap as well. We got two more to go. After this, we got Friday with the Panthers and the Bills, and then we got Texans Browns next Monday. So
Ooh, that'll be fun. I'm sure Caroline will want to talk about that, right, Caroline? She gave me the thumbs up.
Yeah. But yeah, let's roll into it here. The two pieces of news that we do have. Kansas, the Kansas legislator, specifically the Kansas governor, she put into legislation, however it works, I don't know, allowing the state of Kansas to potentially lure the Chiefs and the Royals away from Kansas City, Missouri, helping to pay for new stadiums potentially. That has always been a kind of, rivalry there. Kansas City, Missouri. And obviously, like I said, both teams play in Missouri right now. But the state of Kansas looking to put up that money and get the franchises across the state line there. Oh, yeah. Makes sense. I mean, Missouri, I know right now, I mean, they said that no, they're not going to put up public money to help build a new stadium. So seems like Kansas is the place to go for the Chiefs and the Royals right now.
Hey, you have a chance at bringing two teams into your state. Give it a shot.
Yeah. And the Packers board of directors, they voted unanimously today to appoint Ed Policy as the new president. It's a real person, I swear to God.
That's such an on-the-nose name. I love
it. He has been with the Packers since 2012. He was the vice president and general counsel from 2012 to 2018. And then in 2018 to present, he has been the COO and general counsel there. Also a former Arena Football League executive as well, acting commissioner in one of the last years of the original iteration of the AFL. He's going to take over next July. So it's kind of crazy how long, that process takes, and now he's got to wait a whole another year till Mark Murphy officially steps down. I think this year is going to be kind of like a shadowing process for the two. And Policy's kind of going to learn a little bit more from Murphy than I'm sure he already knows, being the COO. Pretty close to the president there as one of the top executives in the Packers organization. So, yeah. All right, that is it. So
that's it for news.
Yeah. So let's get to our Dynasty rookie draft recaps. Do you want to go first or me?
Sure. Let me see how I can share my screen here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open a Chrome tab real quick. I should have opened this on Chrome. I opened it on Safari. I'm so used to using Safari. Give me 1 second. Almost there.
I was gonna say I can go.
You can. How about you go? I'll get set up real quick. I'm very close to being done. All right.
So here we go. This is the draft board, how it turned out. I had the 6th pick. Got ousted in the first round I got ousted in the first round last year as the defending champ, I think, in 2022, but could not win it this past season. Anyways, Yeah, so I had the 6th pick. I actually didn't have a first round pick, actually. That I traded away. I think that was my Saquon deal. I can't remember. But anyways, my first pick here was in the second round, 2.2. I went with Trey Benson. Really like him. I think he's going to be the future at running back for Arizona. James Conner already 30, and a lot of touches last year for him. So I'm excited to see what Benson can do there in Arizona this season, and then hopefully we look at 2025. I think James Conner's a free agent next year, so I'm hoping that 25 and beyond we're going to see Trey Benson as a starter for the Cardinals there. Next pick with 204 here. Went with my boy, go Dogs, Lad McConkey under new coach Jim Harbaugh. Love the opportunity there for Lad in LA. You know, unsettled wide receiver room. Obviously, they signed DJ Chark, so that's going to be probably one of the starters there. But I had Lad McConkey 6th overall on my rookie draft or my rookie big board there. Even though it's Greg Roman coming in as the offensive coordinator there, they're going to run the ball for sure under Jim Harbaugh, with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards now in L.A. But I still think it's a shame if they don't utilize Herbert's awesome arm that he has and throw some to Lad there. Benson, by the way, I had down 24th. So, like I said, he's more of a 25 guy, but we'll see what he can do in this season. Next one, I had 2-6. I went with a quarterback. I didn't really have a young guy on my roster. I mean, kind of. I have Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, so they're relatively young still, under 30. But wanted to get just a flyer on a rookie quarterback, and best one at the time I thought was Jaden Daniels, just because of what he has around him. Obviously, Drake May went right after him, but I think Jaden Daniels has an awesome setup there in Washington with the weapons that they have. Terry McLaurin, Luke McCaffrey now in tow. They got the running backs, Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson. So, yeah, and Dan Quinn's a hell of a coach. So I think he's in a good spot, even though he's probably going to sit on my taxi squad this year. My next pick was 210 here. Got another running back, Marshawn Lloyd. I really needed to get some younger backs. I had some older guys like DeAndre Swift and Saquon, but I wanted to go young and guys that have some good upside for the future, 25 and beyond, because I'm not really looking for help in this coming season. So Marshawn Lloyd's a guy I love. I think he's going to be the future in Green Bay. Josh Jacobs, essentially, we talked about it when we did the Packers draft recap. Jacobs essentially on a 1-year deal. A.J. Dillon's a free agent next year as well. And Marshawn Lloyd as a guy I had ranked, let's see here, 38th, just because he has to fight for touches this season. So it's going to be a struggle there. And we don't know how long Jacobs is necessarily going to stay on that overall 4-year deal. But we'll see when the Packers want to get out of it there. The next pick, I didn't have another pick until the 5th round. So just took a flyer on Devontae Walker there with the Ravens. I think he's got a good opportunity in Baltimore. They kind of have the wide receiver depth chart settled with Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman. I have Walker as 26th on my big board. Nelson Aguilar is one of the 3 starters along with the 2 guys I mentioned, but I would not be surprised if Tez ends up starting by the end of the year in Baltimore there. Okay. But yeah, I was mostly happy with who I got. I didn't really need tight end because I have Kittle and Hawk, and I picked up Tanner McLaughlin in free agency after the draft there. even though I would have loved to get JT Sanders. But again, tight end I didn't really need. And I was really looking at running backs, and it was tough. I would have loved Jonathan Brooks, man. Without a first, if I would have had a first round pick, I would have taken Brooks at 6, because I think he could potentially. And I heard someone say this too. I think Brooks could potentially be a league winner at the end of the year this year. I think he's going to come on late in the season there in Carolina and produce some nice numbers in the playoffs, in the fantasy playoffs. But yeah,
not bad.
I
can share my screen real quick.
Go ahead, sir.
Let's see. How do I do this? Never done this. Oh, wait. Is this it? Yes. Here we go.
You can also broadcast to your social media as well.
Ah. Yeah. Do you see my screen?
I do. Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Well, I was in a tough spot. I adopted a pretty bad team. I should have had the 3rd overall pick, but the problem was I adopted a team that traded away 2 straight first-round picks for Najee Harris.
Nice.
I've been stuck with that.
I like it. That's something I would have done the last 2 seasons when I was high on Najee.
Dude, it was rough, especially at the beginning of the season. But Najee came around.
It's a 3rd straight year of me being high on Najee when we come down to the season previews that will start in like a couple shows.
Yeah. But I did end up getting a first-round pick. I traded it back into the first round with the champion of the league, and I got that last pick, 10th in the first round. I got Brian Thomas at Jacksonville. I really wanted to get JJ McCarthy. I wanted the QB. I wanted to go younger at QB. But at that point in the draft, Williams, Daniels, May, and McCarthy were taken. I wasn't going to take a flyer on any other quarterback. So I said, you know what? I really like Thomas. I think he's going to really shine, especially Ridley getting out of that wide receiver room. He has the potential to be the number 1 wide receiver in that locker room right away. And that's why I jumped at the chance to get him. And as you can see, I did not have a lot of picks. I only had 3. You really stepped it up with how many picks you had, but I only had 3. My next pick came all the way in the 3rd, and great minds think alike. I also took Lloyd out of Green Bay in the 3rd round, 3rd pick. Same reasons you had for taking Lloyd. I also had, even with getting Josh Jacobs. I think there's a good chance he might not finish out his contract, and even if he did, I don't see A.J. Dillon sticking around after he hits free agency. I think Lloyd, at worst, going into next season, will be sharing runs with Josh Jacobs, and I think he can be very, very valuable. And, I mean, what's not to love there? And my last pick, later in the 3rd round, the 9th pick in the 3rd round, I got your boy Sanders. I mean, that tight end's looking me in the face. I got to pick him up. So I think he's the second, consensus second best tight end in this draft behind Brock Bowers, and jumping at the chance to get him and really fleshing out what I think is the deepest part of my team, which is my tight end room. I mean, he joins a tight end room of who else is there? Freiermuth. Who else I got? Freiermuth, McBride, and Laporta. I mean, I have one of the best tight end rooms, in my opinion, in the league. I mean, I traded away Evan Ingram. That's how much I like my tight end room. I was like, I don't even need Ingram anymore. But I will say this: the story is not finished on my draft, on my rookie draft, because I did what I think smart GM should do, and I absolutely went ham in the undrafted free agent market. Let me share that screen real quick. Look at that taxi squad. I mean, come on. Jordan Travis, I picked him up. I got Brennan Rice. And we move up here. Who else I got? That's right. Your boy, Devontae Walker. Come on. Get back to the thing. I mean, these are guys that should have been drafted. And I fleshed out the rest of this team by getting some really good future players that won't be making much of a difference this coming year, but I really think that these rookies eventually will become a very big part of my team. And if no one else is going to pick them and I got room on my taxi squad, I'm going to fill it out. So although I didn't pick about half the rookies I got, I walked away with Thomas, Lloyd, Sanders, Travis, Walker, and Rice. And I mean, what's not to love there?
Yeah, for sure. I had Thomas number 3 on my dynasty big board there. He's a little lower now though. Obviously, I don't know why I'm blanking on who they signed.
The Jags?
Yeah.
The guy from Buffalo, what was his name?
Oh, Gabe Davis. That's right.
Gabe Davis, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk there, little bit lower, still pretty high though. I think he's still a top 10 guy. It's just the 2024 value takes a dip a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I wrote on my thing, I think wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville for the future, definitely. And then JT Sanders here, I had him 14th, and I did not like the article that I read today on ESPN about minicamp standouts for each team. And for the Panthers, it was Ian Thomas.
Ooh.
So was not a fan of that for the JT Sanders hype, but obviously no pads. So we'll see. I did, however, make a move based off that article. I did trade for Pat Freiermuth because he was the Steelers one. And I mean the Pat Freiermuth, I think I got a great deal because it was in one of my other dynasty leagues. I traded Kate Otten and 3.05 for Freiermuth. I had 2 third-rounders this year, so I was like, all right, why not? My other tight end's Luke Musgrave, so I kind of needed one there. I'll probably draft one with one of my 3 picks that I have. But yeah, I think Freiermuth's going to do awesome in the Arthur Smith tight end friendly offense, especially Russ historically has liked throwing to tight ends. He had Greg Olsen in Seattle for a bunch of years early on. Greg Dulcich had a decent season last year with the Broncos as well, even in a different offense. And also the Steelers' lack of targets outside of George Pickens. I think Freiermuth could potentially be that number 2 guy. Anyways, let's get to the Ravens and the 49ers here. Baltimore, 30th overall in the first. Corner Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. Second round, 62nd. Offensive tackle Roger Rosengarten from Washington. Third round, 93rd. Edge rusher Adisa Isaac, Penn State. 2 fourth-rounders, 113. Our guy, wide receiver Devontae Walker from UNC. 130th. Corner TJ Tampa from Iowa State. That's your guy as well.
Oh, yeah.
5th round, 165th. Running back Rasheen Ali from Marshall. 6th round, 218, quarterback Devin Leary from Kentucky. 2 7th-rounders, 228 center Nick Samick from Michigan State, and 250th safety Sanusi Kane from Purdue. And since this is one of my team's divisions, I will go first here. I think I enjoyed the Ravens draft. I think Nate Wiggins was an awesome pick at 30th. They needed to upgrade their speed in the secondary, and they had a million injuries in the secondary, specifically at corner last year. So they needed to upgrade the speed, and they needed some guys that didn't really have injury questions. I think Nate Wiggins had maybe one, but it wasn't a big issue there. Love the Rosengarten pick as well. They lost their right tackle. They traded him to the Jets. And I'm blanking on all the names today, so that's cool. But yeah, love Rosengarten. He was a guy that was in that next group of tackles, the third tier, I think it was. But he's a guy that I'm confident, and he's a starter right now on our lads. It's going to be an interesting competition at that right tackle spot with him, 22 fourth rounder Daniel Fa'alele as well, who is just massive at 6'8". I think he's like 330 as well. So that's going to be one of the more interesting position battles for Baltimore. Adisa Isaac, excellent selection in the third round. Great value there. They needed edge rush help. Odafe Owe has been so as a 21 first rounder. They signed Kyle Van Noy and David Ojabo. He has been, up and down, coming back from the injury late in his rookie season. Kind of iffy last year in his second year, so they needed some upgrades on the edge rush spot there, and they lost Clowney in free agency as well, so they needed help there. Talked about Walker. He's deep threat. Had some drop issues at UNC, but I know it was kind of bad to do on my big board article, but I did mention Jamar Chase in the little blurb on Walker, just for the fact of what Chase did in his rookie year. There were questions about his drops. We'll see if that happens in camp for Baltimore with him. But what did Jamar come out? He came out and just lit it up in his rookie season. So would not be surprised if Tez does that. The double corner thing, again, I think that was really solid, especially with the value that they got in Tampa at 130. And then the rest of the draft I wasn't a fan of. Rasheen Ali, Devin Leary, I don't think they're going to make the roster. Nick Samick is probably going to make it. Maybe. He's going to have to fight to be one of the top interior backups there, and he's got good competition. Josh Jones, they signed in free agency. They have Male Sela Almalve Laulu, who they drafted in the 6th round last year as well. Tashawn Manning has been around. So got some competition there. And then Kane, I really don't I don't know. I guess he's going to make the roster. They, as our lads, timed out there. But it looks like he's the main backup at strong safety, and that's where I see him. He is a in-the-box kind of guy, but and they really don't have a ton of safety depth. It's really, really not great. But I would like to see my boy Bo Braid beat him out. To be honest, Bo Braid, they signed an undrafted free agency. But yeah, it was decent. I like the top half. The bottom half I was not a fan of, though.
Yeah. I think the first 5 picks I'm a big fan of. I thought Nate Wiggins was up there with what was his name? Adonai Mitchell. Am I mixing his name up? That's it. Is that his name? The guy from Toledo.
Oh, Quinion.
Why did I get Adonai? Anyway.
Adonai Mitchell, baby.
Coach. Maybe, yeah. But Quinion, I had Nate Wiggins and Quinion kind of in a similar boat. I think Wiggins has more interesting what's the word I'm looking for? More interesting traits. I think the big thing for him was just his natural speed. I think the big thing with Wiggins is just learning how to play the position at a professional level, but he has the traits to do it. I love Rosengarten. I think Baltimore has had some trouble on the outside line for a little bit. They've had one really good one, but on the other end, it's been kind of a struggle. I think Rosengarten could do a good job possibly starting. I like Adisa Isaac a lot. Walker, you and I have just talked him to death. I don't need to really go over that. And then TJ Tampa, I saw this very much as a value pick. I thought this guy would be late third. Seeing him go late fourth really shocked me. And then kind of same with you. The rest of the draft didn't really blow me away. I thought just getting the center out of MSU was a good choice. I'm a big fan of just getting offensive line depth later in the draft and see what you can make of it. But yeah, I really like the front half of this draft. I think they filled a lot of needs and got a lot of talent. The back half, I don't see a lot of even depth players in there. Some of these guys probably we'll never see even be on a practice squad. But that's kind of how most drafts are. You get to the back half of the draft and you're seeing long shots. But in all, I really like the Ravens draft.
Some solid UFL players in the back half there.
I can't wait to see Devin Leary cook with the Michigan Panthers.
Oh yeah. My rankings, I mentioned I had Tez at 26, and then the only other the two skill guys at the end there, Ali and Leary, I had second to last and last, 77th and 78th out of the drafted rookies. I don't think. Well, it depends on what the Ravens do. If they keep three quarterbacks, Leary will make the team more than likely, unless Emory Jones beats him out. They signed Emory Jones in undrafted free agency as well. So he's the only other quarterback because Malik Cunningham switched to wide receiver with Baltimore. Same thing kind of with Rasheen Ali. If they keep four running backs, Ali will make the roster. If they only keep three, because you got to remember they have Patrick Ricard as a fullback. So they got to figure out, well, do they include him in that calculation or not? Because if they do and they keep four backs total, Ali won't make the roster. Because unless Keaton Mitchell is not ready yet. If he's not ready coming back from his ACL, then Ali, I think, could make the opening day roster and contribute early on. Maybe, but I don't know. Because with Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell, that's your backfield right there. Like I said, Ricard at fullback as well. All right. 49ers here. 31st overall wide receiver Ricky Pearsall from Florida. Second round 64th corner Renardo Green, Florida State. Third round 86th guard Dominic Puny from Kansas. Fourth round 3 picks 124th safety Malik Mustafa from Wake Forest. 129th running back Isaac Garendo from Louisville. 135th wide receiver Jacob Cowing, Arizona. 6th round 215 guard Jarrett Kingston, USC. 7th round 251 linebacker Tatum Bethune from Florida State. Take it away, Jimmy, as I got my CMC jersey on, even though it's Panthers.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for the 49ers when they were going into this draft was what are we going to do to protect ourselves from a possible losing of Brandon Ayuk and or Deebo Samuel. Going into the draft, we had a lot of news, especially around Ayuk, about the possibility of them losing a very key wide receiver. News today actually broke that Ayuk was negotiating with the 49ers, so we'll see how about that. But yeah, along with the wide receiver news, 49ers, especially interior offensive line, was kind of a question mark going into this draft, especially and that only gets exacerbated when you realize that Trent Williams was mulling retirement for a little bit. So that I think the best thing they did was double up on that concern by drafting 2 wide receivers and 2 interior offensive linemen. Getting Ricky Pearsall at 31 was far from surprising. Everyone saw the draft and immediately went, oh, this is a do-it-all kind of wide receiver, kind of in the form of, Deebo and Ayuk, guys that can get the ball behind the line of scrimmage and that can run routes, make good catches, be effective downfield on short routes. So and he has incredible hands, so that made a ton of sense for them. Followed it up with Ronaldo Green. I thought he was a really good pick. I liked him out of FSU. You can never do too poorly with getting a second round corner. Then he followed it up with Dominic Puny. This interior offensive line of San Fran has needed some bolstering, and I thought Puny made a lot of sense. Then we go down in the fourth. Mustafa's fine. Isaac was fine. I liked Cowing a lot, especially with, as I mentioned before, wanting to double up a wide receiver. I think Cowing is a very projectable wide receiver and someone that could be formed into a very productive player. And then in the sixth round, they went Jared Kingston, again, doubling up on position of need. And then finishing up with Tatum, I don't see Buffoon really threatening any roster spots, but I think he's fine for the 251st pick. So in all, I thought this is an okay draft. They had a lot of concerns going into it with Ayuk and Debo and their contract situation. They went ahead and got 2 wide receivers to give themselves some leeway in that. They had some problems with interior offensive line. They doubled up on that position. I think they got good value on Green. And other guys like Mustafa, Isaac, and Bethune, I thought were okay. Nothing really blew my mind about those picks, but I thought they'd probably be at best decent depth, at worst guys that don't make the roster.
Yeah, I wasn't that big of a fan of the Niners draft. Pierce was okay, but I thought they should have went tackle with Williams. Probably going to be done after this year. They need someone for the future. Now they do have 21 fifth rounder Jalen Moore on the roster. They signed Chris Hubbard, but he's been a swing guy throughout his career. They signed Brandon Parker, who has been pretty decent with the Raiders throughout his career. But otherwise, I'm not sold on the tackle longevity there in San Fran. So would have liked to see a tackle go there even after the guys already went in front of them, Jordan Morgan and Tyler Guyton. You know, I thought they could have got a guy. Roger Rosengarten went way later. Was a guy I would have considered at 31. I thought he was potentially available there. But Pearsall, I don't see him as a number one. They're not asking him to be a number one, which is weird to say when you're talking about a first-round pick, regardless of it being the second to last pick in the first round. He's going to be a starter because they really don't have a third guy, despite your guy, Juwan Jennings.
You're the X factor.
But yeah, he's going to play. He's going to play a lot, especially if Ayuk does get dealt or whatever, as talked about their meeting today. But yeah, I mean, he's a slot. He's going to be a slot receiver, which is weird. Also, I think maybe I'm just a football traditionalist, but to draft the slot receiver in the first round is kind of weird, I think. Green was a necessity. They needed help on the outside. Travarius Ward and Diamador Lenore are your starters, but the depth is not great. Apparently, Isaac Yiadom has been had a good mini camp. They have other guys. Darrell Luter, drafted in the 5th round last year. Rock Yassin they signed. They have Sam Womack, who they drafted in the 5th round in 22. Ambry Thomas is a 3rd rounder from 21. So they have a bunch of draft picks. But they needed some quality depth there. So I like the Green pick. Puny was interesting. It was interesting they announced him as a guard, which a lot of people, that's where they had him. But again, I liked tackle over guard, even though guard was a need as well. They're kind of hedging their bets with the John Feliciano signing this year from the Giants. The rest of it was okay. Malik Mustafa, he's going to make the roster. They needed safety depth as well. It's really not great after Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga. George Odom signed from the Colts this offseason. Hated the Guerrero pick. I didn't think they needed to draft the running back. They just drafted one last year. Or not last year. But they already have guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, CMC got Elijah Mitchell. It's kind of the same thing as the Ravens, really. Although Guerrero is going to be number 3 right now on our lads. They did sign Patrick Taylor from the Packers. They have the journeyman Jordan Mason. Guy I'd watch out for in that backfield, though. I don't know if he would make it over Guerrero because that's tough to cut a 4th-round pick and hope you can get him on your practice squad. They signed Cody Schrader in undrafted free agency from Missouri. Little diminutive at 5'9", but had an excellent senior season at Mizzou last year, and he's a good player. But again, they're kind of the same thing. Is Kyle Juszczyk included in that backfield calculation when you're talking about roster numbers or not? Or is he his own separate thing? Don't know. But yeah, I was not a fan of Guerrero. They drafted him for speed, which is what you do on day 3. Kind of look for guys that have one trait you're really excited about, and that's how you kind of set that up. Cowing is kind of the same thing. Super fast. He's also small. He's 5'8". Going to be a slot. But excellent career at Arizona. I really enjoyed him. Again, his was just the size. That's why he lasted until the 4th round. Mm-hmm. Don't think Kingston's going to make the roster at all. There's too much competition there in the interior with the starters. And then you have Spencer Burford, 4th rounder in 22. Ben Barch, they got from Jacksonville. And then they also got an awesome undrafted guy, Drake Nugent, they signed, former Michigan center in undrafted free agency. They also have Nick Zakel, 22 6th rounder, and obviously Dominic Puni as well. So I have a hard time thinking Kingston's going to make the roster. Bethune, I'm opposite of you, man. I'm excited for Tatum Bethune. I think he's going to have a good go at this, and hopefully he can make the roster because he really only has to beat one person, and that's Ezekiel Turner, who they signed from Arizona. So, yeah, I mean, I think Bethune can play special teams, and he can beat Turner out. They're going to need him, really, early on in the season. Not sure when Dre Greenlaw is going to be back, torn Achilles in the Super Bowl, so we'll see how long it takes him to get back. But they're gonna ask a lot from Devondre Campbell, who they signed for the Packers. You know, they got Fred Warner. They got D. Winters, who they drafted in the 6th last year. Demetrius Flanagan-Foles has been a career special teamer, but a good backup linebacker as well. So, yeah. But, yeah, I was overall not really that high on this draft for San Fran. As my dynasty rankings kind of said, Pearsall had 39th out of 78. Not really sure what the value is in 24 with both Samuel and Ayuk still on the roster. We'll see how much chemistry he makes with Purdy there. Cowing, I had 54th. Obviously, if I'm not that high on Pearsall, going to be even lower on Cowing as a backup. And then Guerrero, I just below that at 57. 3rd string running back right now. He's going to need injuries in order to have quality playing time, especially when they just signed CMC to an extension. There's really not a ton of dynasty value with Guerrero. All right, grade time. Let's go with the Ravens first. And for Baltimore, I'm going to give a B. It's a half and half kind of draft, but they hit on the top half, and I was left with no needs on my draft need list for the Ravens, so I like a solid B.
Yeah, I was going to go B as well. I really like those first 5 picks. I think those guys picked in the top 5 are going to be starters at worst, rotational pieces. Bottom 4, I'm agreement with you. Other than Samek, however you say his name, I don't really see much here. Maybe a couple of these guys can make it to practice squad. Maybe they can make the occasional appearance every once in a while, but nothing really blows me away. But those first 5, I think, are fantastic. I think they're going to be important players for Baltimore as they try to, make it all the way to the Super Bowl and win one. So I'll give them a B.
Yeah, Rosengarten, my favorite player there of the top 5. All right, what do you got for San Fran?
I'm giving him a C. Nothing about this really impressed me. I thought Pearsall was okay. Green was pretty good. Puny, I thought was okay. Cowing, okay. But that's the best I can give a lot of these picks is just okay to eh. That's genuinely the best grade I can give each draft pick is just okay to meh. So it's a C. It's nothing special, in my opinion. Yeah, there's not much else to say.
We are in an agreement, sir. I don't even know if that's a word, but yeah, C as well. My favorite pick is another O lineman. Puny's my favorite pick for San Fran. Didn't really like the Pearsall one. I thought they overdrafted him at 31. I should probably give him a C- for not getting the tackle because I thought that was a big misstep from John Lynch and co. There was one other need I had left on the board, but it's canceled out now. It was tight end. I thought they needed to get tight end because Ross Dwelly got signed away in free agency, so they needed a new backup, main backup to George Kittle. But with the signing of Logan Thomas, that tight end need is canceled out there now. So, and they have 23 7th rounder Braden Willis and 23 third rounder Cameron Latu, which we have not even seen a lick from after he kind of went unnoticed in his rookie season. I don't think he's on the practice squad for most of it. I don't even remember if he made the roster. But yeah, Logan Thomas there now in San Fran. So do not need an extra tight end. So B's and C's from us for Baltimore and San Fran. Yeah, that is the show. Nothing going on in the news. Short show. Next Monday, we'll be back talking if there is any news. Hopefully, we'll get it to you. And we'll conclude finally our draft recap series. Texans, Browns. It's going to be a quick turnaround. We're doing Bills, Panthers on Friday, which my mentee Ben will be on for to talk about those two. And then Texans, Browns next Monday. And then it's, like I said, turning around and we're looking toward the season. We are going to do season previews here coming up for all 32. And then once we get through those, we're going to do I got to calculate the days out. We'll see how many teams we're going to do each show. But once we do those, man, we'll be pretty close to the season. And then we'll do our college football conference previews. And before you know it, we'll be into our Super Bowl picks and Heisman picks and everything like that. So hopefully by then we'll have employments.
Please, someone hire us.
But yeah, thank y'all for watching. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and X. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and LinkedIn. We're on LinkedIn as well. We do have a page there, just saying. If we get enough followers on LinkedIn, then we can broadcast to LinkedIn. So we need more followers on there, though. I forget what the number is, but we need a lot more. But yeah, we'll be back on Friday, like I said, talking Bills and Panthers draft.